Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following confession that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear sister. Just a friendly reminder, if you have a confession that you have, please feel free to reach out to us on TikTok or on Facebook as well. The message that I have for you, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nanshi, how are you? Can you please post my story as anonymous? I am a woman and I am searching for a life partner if there is such. But this is the back story that I do have of my life. I don't have a child. I have so much trauma because of the things that happened when I was involved in Satanism. I arrived in Johannesburg. I was only 19 years old when I came to Joburg. I did not want to become rich. I just came to Joburg because I wanted to help my mom to take care of my siblings because I was the firstborn. I grew up in a home that was always breaking apart. The entire family, my dad was really never there, and sometimes he'll be at home and sometimes you will just go and be with another woman. My mother, she was someone that was taking care of her kids, but she had so much anger and bitterness because of what my dad used to put her through. There were days when my mom would wake up so gentle, treating us so nice, but then there were times when she would wake up already tired of life and she would take it out on us as her kids. I learned early how to read my mom's mood, how to keep quiet, and always to make sure that I never get on her bedside. This made me to go after men that were also mistreating me, even though these men were mistreating me, but I refused to sleep with any man that I was dating until when I came to Joburg. I was a virgin, and the guy that I slept with first, he was even surprised because he found me in a club, yet I was still a virgin. So back home, when I finished school, there was nothing really that I could not do. There was even a time when my sibling was raped by my mom's elder brother. It was really painful. These are things as a child you are not supposed to process in your mind, and everything was kept secret in the family. I learned to survive with all of that trauma and pain by pretending everything was normal, but normal really never came in our house. So when my auntie called me and said, come to Josie, I can help you at least here, you will find work, I did not hesitate. I did not even ask any questions. Neither did I even tell my mom that I was going to leave Eastern Cape and coming to Joburg. I packed my clothes into one bag. I really did not have any savings, no backup plan. I just believed that I was going to find a job, and for me anyway was better than where I was at that time in Eastern Cape. When the taxi dropped me off in Hillbrow, I thought that I had really arrived in another country. Everyone there was shouting in their own language, some of the languages that I could not even recognize. Everything was moving fast, and it was not South Africa. Even the culture, no one really respected any law at all, and I could not even understand what the hell was going on. Yet as for my auntie, it was as if she was no longer South African, the way that she lived a life, and she was staying in one of the abandoned building, like those buildings that they call hijacked buildings. When I started staying with my auntie, it was terrible because I come from the rural areas where you have a lot of space, everyone have their own home, but living with my auntie in one of those overcrowded flats, You know that kind, a 2-bedroom space holding more than 10 people, mattresses on the floor, curtains dividing rooms, no privacy. And there was no one that was even complaining that right next door there was a woman and a man that were busy doing jiggy jiggy on their bed, and they were loud as I don't even know. And that first night, I did not even sleep at all. The love making, the people that were shouting, fighting, and as for the footsteps on the staircases, at all hours, each and every minute, there is someone going down the stairs, someone coming up. These people, they never slept. And somewhere, a woman crying, somewhere else, other people fighting, cursing at each other. And I lay on the mattress thinking that this place where I was, it was not South Africa. It was like hell on earth. The next morning, I woke up. I was tired because I could not even sleep. I was not used to all of that noise. And what really surprised me was that the women from Zim, those that shared the same space with my auntie really did not even care about them because she was used to their music. Their music is different with all the fast guitars. Each and every woman, that is what surprised me, had a small speaker and they were all playing different songs. I was like, what the hell is wrong with these people? Why can't they just listen to one like sound? All of them, they were playing different music at the same time. And my auntie would even sing along, and I did not even know how she was able to sing along in all of that noise that the music was making. So the next morning, my auntie, she took me to her salon. It was not fancy. It was just a salon, really. And it was a small space on the ground floor of another hijacked building. And as for the mirrors, like there was nothing good about that salon. The mirrors, they were cracked all over the place, extension cords running across the floors, chairs that had been repaired more times than replaced, but it was busy, really busy. So the Nigerians were the ones that owned everything, the space, and my auntie, she was renting out to those Nigerians, but the place was how busy. Women came in from morning until late evening, braids, weaves, wigs, nails, gossip. Like it was a place where a lot of women met. And later on, I realized that these women, like they were prostitutes. So they always have money, always changing hairstyle, like literally on a daily basis, a woman can be changing hairstyle. So I started to talk with a lot of these women because I love to have a conversation. So my auntie started to teach me how to wash their hair, braid the women, and also to do their nails. I really did not complain. At least for the first time in my life, I was going to have some money, and each and every end of the day, my auntie will give me the money. Even if it was little money, it was mine, no longer asking or trying to be on the good side of my mom each and every time. So as for Hillbrow, slowly but surely, like Hillbrow started to feel like home. That is something that is quite strange about the human mind. When I entered Hillbrow, everything felt gross for me. Looking at prostitutes everywhere, drug addicts everywhere, crime happening in broad daylight. But as time went on, I was no longer that much sensitive to what was around me. Danger did not even scare me at all. If I would date a guy and I would tell the guy that I stay in Hillbrow, that guy would be like, Joe. And as for me, it was no longer dangerous. I would even go around late at night, walking around, and if some guys will try to take some chances on me, I will call out their names and say that you're going to meet hell if you try to take anything from me. So within weeks, I get friends. Some of them were thieves, those that steal phones and then they come to sell them in the saloon. I had friends everywhere. most of my friends were other young women that were working in saloons. Some were working in bars, kitchens. Many of us really, we had similar backgrounds. That is what I discovered about young girls that roam around Hillbrow. It is like a place for people that come from broken homes. Even if you check the foreigners that are there, most of them, if you check like where they are coming from a place of abuse. So I became friends with these other girls that were going to certain clubs to find blessings. Looking back, I should have never done that. I was too young to be going around with those prostitutes and trying to find blessings. That was when I met my Nigerian boyfriend. So this Nigerian boyfriend that I met, he was also into hijacked buildings. He was benefiting from that because he was the one that had linked another South African group to a white man who wanted a real estate property in South Africa. And to someone, this might sound as if it is like a business deal, but these are like your white gangsters. They don't deal in clean properties. They want those hijacked buildings where they do not maintain the property, they just collect the fees. So these Nigerians, they look for those international syndicates. Then the local gangs, they are the ones that have to be responsible to make sure that the people, they pay their rentals in time and they give the money after taking their cut to the Nigerians. Then they are big bosses. They are the ones that collect the most of the money. So when I was dating that guy, he started to go with me everywhere, mainly in Yeoville, where I witnessed a lot of Nigerian men that will be dealing in drugs. But I did not want that guy because even though he had a lot of money, but he was a heavy drug dealer, and I was scared that maybe one day he will end up getting shot because he was too violent. I once saw him beating up this other South African girl simply because the girl was owing her money. That was the most scariest thing that I had ever seen in my entire life. And I was even thinking about sleeping with him on that night when I saw him doing something like that. We went to this other hijacked building. There was this other prostitute because in Hillbrow, Yeoville, as well as Berea area, there are a lot of prostitutes that really do not work for money. You might give her money, but that money will be taken by the Nigerians who deal in drugs. So they get these beautiful women, they date them, and they start to feed them drugs. And once you are a drug addict, anything that you do it to satisfy your addiction, right? So we went to this other hijacked building. We went upstairs. At first, I was just remaining in the car, but I saw some guys that were moving around. And since this Nigerian guy had the habit of like insulting anyone and making him feel better, I was scared that maybe these were hitmen that had came to shoot him. So I got out of the car and I followed him upstairs. And maybe it was God that wanted to show me that he was not the right man for me. I then heard that in this other room, he was screaming on top of his voice. And I entered into that room. What he was doing, it really disgusted me because he was holding that girl by the collar of her jacket and he was standing right behind him and he was shouting at him, and then he dragged him close to the wall. Then he started punching him with her face right against the wall and he was screaming, "I want my money. You had a man that came here. You spent the whole day with that man and you are telling me that he only gave you this. He only gave you this and you agreed to sleep with him for this. Where is the rest of my money? Where is the rest of my money?" So I knew that this was what he was into. So I did not want to end up like that woman, because even though she was messed up, but you could tell that she was once a beautiful queen. So from there on, I started avoiding him. And in order to protect myself, I was supposed to date someone that you end up being afraid of, because he would come to my auntie's saloon, just stand there wanting to know what is it that I was doing if I was with another man. So I allowed another man to enter into my life. This was a man that I knew was much more scarier than the guy that I had been dating, and my ex-boyfriend stopped coming to the saloon. The guy that I was dating, again, he was a Nigerian. He was someone that did not sell drugs, even though he drove a nice car, but he did not show off. He was clean and he was serious about life. He told me that he had been in South Africa for less than a year, recently arrived, and he was still learning the city. And I said, with all of the money that you have? And he said, yeah, with all this money that I have, I don't even have a year here in South Africa. So I loved that guy, and we met in a club, and he told me that he was going to protect me because he knew that the man that I used to date, he was someone that was quite dangerous. But he was also into that work, like the whole business that he did, it involved consulting and helping people and settling problems. And they were not dealing into drugs, but he assisted those that dealt in drugs. Mainly they were Nigerians and a few South African gangs leaders that would come to him to consult. Even a few taxi bosses, there were two guys that were from Mpumalanga that always came to that Nigerian so that they can consult with him. So the way that he used to help all of these bosses was that if he thought that his life was in danger, he would come to my boyfriend, and then they would consult, and he would give that person some juju from Nigeria so that he can receive protection. And looking back, when I think about this story, when I started to witness that this man, he was like a sangoma, but in Nigeria, they don't call them sangomas. I just forgot the name now, but I used to call him using that name, like he is a vessel of the gods. That is what he used to tell me. I should have walked away from this guy. I did not know that he was going to use me in that way. After he had discovered that I was still a virgin, he was much more interested in me and the way that he used to assist some of these rich people. He would talk about sacrifices. There were times when I would accompany him. He would go with me to different clubs and we would pretend as if we are not even dating. He would be targeting women, those that were young. There was even one time when he used the womb of a girl that was 17. This was the time when one of a taxi boss from Mpumalanga thought that his life was in danger, and he came to Johannesburg so that he can be assisted by my boyfriend. And I was told by my boyfriend that we were supposed to look for the womb of a young woman who was still very young. And we found this other girl. She was with her friends at a certain club, and they spoke, and the girl agreed to sleep with my boyfriend. That is how much I was hypnotized by the Nigerian juju. And he started to use me as well in the Satanism that he was doing. When he started to tell me the truth about these hijacked buildings, I really did not even understand what he meant. But he would always tell me that some of these buildings, they were protected, yes, by some corrupt police, but they were also protected by blood and covenant, because these gangsters, they deal with a lot of witchcraft, and they always consult with different sangomas. A building can be hijacked using force, but at the end of the day, they even make oath with the devil, and they will allow as much demonic activity as they can possibly have in that building. He told me that The way that he made so much money, he made money if he assisted any of these guys that will be having court cases after they would have been caught, either trying to hijack a building, trying to intimidate. Like most of the buildings, they are owned by rich Indians. Some of them, they just bought the buildings and they did not come back. They'll be in Durban or in Cape Town. So they intimidate some of those rich people to hand over their title deeds. Some of them, they refuse. And if they refuse, they intimidate them and they can get arrested for doing that. And when those court cases are going on, his job is to make sure that as the court case is going on, he would be summoning the demons to confuse the prosecutors, including the judges as well. There was even one such case he told me that he worked on. The prosecutor was even asked by the judge, whom exactly was he prosecuting, because he was even acting as if he was in favor of the Nigerian that he was supposed to be prosecuting, as if he was now the lawyer, trying to convince the judge that the man that was standing before the judge being accused by him was innocent. He said that it was quite funny when he was told by his Nigerian client, who was filthy rich, that man, he made a lot of money through the hijacked buildings and he quickly became clean and he started selling cars, like long back in those days before a lot of Nigerians started selling used vehicles. He told me that those people that would try to investigate some of these buildings that are never meant to be touched, they can lose their job, they can even get sick, and you can even lose your mind. There was one such incident when a man that was working in the city of Joburg, he tried to clean it up, but he touched the things that he was not supposed to touch, and he ended up being quiet because of the juju that they were using on him, including violence as well. They were doing some violent threats on him, and he remained quiet because he had seen that spiritual warfare was being directed at him, as well as gangsters were always following him. Going to work, he would see a car following him, and coming back from work, he would also see a car that will be following him going back home, and he was scared to continue with what he wanted to do to clean up the whole area. He told me things that began to make sense in ways that when you are a normal being, you won't even understand that. When you see a place where there is a lot of drug use, prostitution, and violence, those are the places that attract demonic entities. And he said that these buildings, they were being used even by other satanic people. And I ended up in a satanic cult because of that. There was a time when I started to get addicted to drugs. I was no longer myself. That was when he would take me and he would go with me to some of these buildings where they would be slaughtering cats, slaughtering even chickens, and eating those chickens alive. I want to confess that there was even one time when they made me to drink cat blood. In my normal sense, I would never do such a thing, but by then I was fully possessed by a demon, and the things that I was doing at that time, I really did not even understand. By then, I was no longer in good books with my auntie who had brought me to Joburg, because I was hanging around all of these Nigerians and satanic people. I had my first pregnancy not long after I had drank the blood of a cat. That pregnancy ended without any explanation. I had another pregnancy and another one. In total, you know how many pregnancies that I lost? I lost 8 babies that I had with that Nigerian. He later told me that he was using my blood for some of the rituals to strengthen himself, because there was another priest also that was from Nigeria that was stealing some of his clients. So in order to strengthen himself, he had to use the blood of the fetus, which was his own blood. When he told me this, I broke down and I started crying. You can imagine, as a woman, losing all of those pregnancies only for a man to tell you that I have been using the blood so that I can strengthen myself. That was when I realized that this was not love. He had disguised himself as the angel of light in my life, but he was as dark and demonic as the devil. But surprisingly, I stayed with him. But slowly, I started to tell myself that I can't remain addicted. As long as I am a drug addict, I am never going to leave this pen. It was painful because we always had drugs at all the times in our room. And for me to stop taking drugs, it was so difficult. It's like you are starving, then the fridge is full of nice cakes and nice food. And I had to fight this addiction because I knew that I had to get out of this satanic cult, because I realized that this man, he did not love me after he had prostituted me to another white man when we went on a vacation to Cape Town. He had a client already that was set up for this. He left me in a hotel room and he told me that he was going to handle some businesses. In that room, they came this other man who was a white man. He was already ready and he locked his door. He tried to talk with me nicely, and when I refused, that was when he grabbed me by the throat and he told me a black K word, and he said that he was going to do me until I was going to vomit, and he started spitting in my mouth. I was raped by a man that was calling me the K word. He urinated in my mouth, and when he was done, within a couple of minutes after he had cleaned himself up, and I was crying in bed, feeling so dirty. When he left, my Nigerian boyfriend came back and he was holding a Markham's plastic bag that was full of money. He threw one brick at me and he said, "Here you go. You can use it to do anything that you want." I did not even want to touch the money, but later on I took it because it was mine. So with all of that which was happening between us, I wanted out, but I was stuck and I did not know how to get out of that lifestyle. There was this other woman as well that I was given an assignment to sleep with. This woman, I can't tell you where she was working, if she was a politician or not. I'm scared. So this woman, she ended up killing herself, even though they said that it was just depression, but it was not depression. This woman, she wanted to also end this thing of buildings being hijacked, and she tried by all means to expose some of the dark things that were happening. And I was given an assignment by my boyfriend that I was supposed to sleep with him, and I did not even understand what it meant, because I was not a lesbian, never had feelings for a woman, but I had to put myself in that mood so that I can be able to get close to her. This woman, they started to follow her around, studying her lifestyle, the places that she loved to hang around. In the meantime, I was being strengthened, and the man would even call a demon of seduction, and he did not sleep with me. Only after I had slept with that woman, that was when we started to have sexual intercourse like we used to. One day, I went to this other club where this woman was drinking, just chilling out with her friends. The moment that she looked at me, there was something that happened, like chemistry. She stood up and she came to where I was and she asked for my phone numbers. I felt my heart banging hard against my chest because it was too easy And when we started to talk, she apologized and she said that she is not a lesbian and she just had some feelings that she wanted to share with me. So we started to sleep with each other. When I was sleeping with him, there were some curse words that I had been told to whisper. Within a very short period of time, she started to tell me that she was always paranoid, as if she was being haunted by a demon. She could not sleep. She was depressed. I encouraged her to go and see a doctor, and she started to take some medication. And this invited more demons into her life. She isolated herself. In the meantime, we used to print out some pictures that she would have sent to me, and those pictures we would go and print them out, and they were being thrown into the ocean, summoning some spirits from the ocean so that she can die. And after that woman had died, that was when my Nigerian boyfriend slept with me. The very day that I slept with that woman in her house, I had to make an excuse after one round, and I said, there is something that I need to do in town. She wanted to accompany me, and I said, no, I'll be back. I went and I slept with my boyfriend, and I came back and we continued with the love making, me and that woman. But I felt so bad because I knew what was going to happen to her. To this very day, my brother, I do not have a child. I wish to have a child, and I hope that you might find someone that might be able to take me so that we can have a partnership, even if it is a man that has money that just wants to have a child with a woman, even if they are married. I just want to have a child, to have my own seed that I will leave on this earth when I die. This is my story. I just tried to shorten it without mentioning some of the gruesome stuff that we used to do in some of these hijacked buildings. Your dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our DM sister. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. Let us try to talk about this. Do you stay in a hijacked building? Have you ever stayed in a hijacked building? If so, feel free to come to our inbox and share with us your side of the story. Yo.